Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Reckless Paradise Podcast. I am your host, Dystro, and tonight's episode is, well, it's another Throwback Thursday episode, but this time around it is another AEW pay-per-view. But this one in particular, it's 5 years old. This one's one of the kind of like mediocre ones, but it's got some good matches in between. I'm talking about AEW Revolution from 2020. And this one is before the whole world shut down and COVID took over and all that crap. Um there was 9 matches on this card, 2 on the pre-show, 7 on the main show. Um yeah, this one's gonna be kind of not a tough pill to swallow, but this one's gonna be kind of I guess a look back at like some of the roster that they had at the time. Um, so first match was it was a tag team match. It was Britt Baker and Penelope Ford versus Riho and Yuka Sakazaki. The next one was another pre-show match. The Dark Order versus SoCal Uncensored when they were still a team. Going into the main show, Jake Hager versus Dustin Rhodes. Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara, the match of the night, in my opinion. This next one, Kenny Omega and Heyman Page versus the Young Bucks for the World Tag Titles, which wins 30 minutes. Match of the night, in my opinion. Nyla Rose versus Chris Statlander. MJF with Wardlow defeated Cody with Arn Anderson and Brandy Rhodes. Pac versus Orange Cassidy. And then John Moxley versus Chris Jericho for the world title. On paper, it's like it sounds like a good card on paper. But it's like I didn't really watch. I watched the show, but I didn't really watch the show. If that makes any sense. But yeah, so this the Britt Baker and Penelope Ford versus Riho and Yuka Sakazaki match was for a future episode of AEW Dark when it was still around. This buy-in pre-show match, like it could have been on the main card or it could have just been on the Dynamite show or something. The Dustin Rhodes to Jake Hager feud, it's just like it just didn't really go anywhere. I think it's just it's alright. It's just it was okay match. Like some of these matches were okay. It's like the only ones that I know of like going into it was the Hangman and Kenny versus Young Bucks, MJF and Cody, Mox and Jericho, and Pac and OC. Um, it's like, and that's kind of it. Like, really, like some of these other matches, like, are just basically like dynamite matches, like TV matches. Um, like I know that kind of sounds shitty too, but it's like it's like you get what you get here. But I kind of figured to go onto Reddit and do like find like a person that did like rebooking of it or something. Maybe see if it would be better with the rebooking. So this one was from 4 years ago, and this is rebooking AEW Revolution 2020. So the buy-in would be Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford. AEW's newest outer space sensation is making waves in the women's division. However, one super bad girl is in her way. Penelope says she will not let what happened with Britt happen again. Penelope's nobody's launching pad anymore. Speaking of launching, Penelope says she will kick Chris's ass all the way back to Mars or wherever the hell she came from. Bad word from the bad girl. We should be able to back him up. Well, then Chris Statlander and Penelope Ford have a good match. Penelope connects with the bicycle kick, but goes for another that Chris counters with a jackknife pin for a close 2. Chris transitions over into a Big Bang Theory, spiking Ford for the 3 count. Presses Impressive performance by Statlander as Penelope acts as a secondary character again. Which, I mean, that would have been way better. Because Chris Statlander at this point was like, she was undefeated or something. And then she was going against Nyla Rose, who's like just got the women's championship. So it's like, you know, but to kick off the main show, which would have been crazy to see, it would have been the Face of the Revolution ladder match, which will pitch Darby Allin, Dustin Rhodes, Jungle Boy, Kip Sabian, Orange Cassidy, and Scorpio Sky. This ladder match would have been a bona fide banger, as all 6 of these men qualified with singles matches over guys like Jimmy Havoc, Mance Warner, John Silver, etc. All six of these men are very different, with completely different approaches to a ladder match. Dustin and Sky are veterans, and they're against the very best of AEW's future. Oh yeah, and OC is in there also. Which one of these warriors will get a World Heavyweight title shot and become face of the Revolution? Well, Darby wipes out everyone with a coffin drop off the ladder to the floor, except for Kip Sabian. Superbad sneaks back into the ring and starts climbing the ladder, but Darby meets him up there. Darby and Kip fight on top, with Darby getting the upper hand and finally finishing off Kip with a wicked headbutt, sending him off the ladder to the mat. Darby retrieves the proverbial brass ring and wins it. Darby has a world title opportunity, and he didn't fall on this night. And Darby is the face of the Revolution. That would have been way better than we would have gone with the Dustin and Jake Hager match. But I digress. Let's just keep going. Santana Ortiz versus Lucha Brothers, which would have been sick. But this was for the World Tag Titles. I don't know if they had won them off of Kenny Omega and Paige, but this is just a fantasy book, and this is like a rebooking of it. Like, this is like if Penta and Phoenix had won the tag titles and they didn't lose them to Kenny and Hangman. The massive history between these two great tag teams are reunited once again on the biggest stage. Santana and Ortiz had a confrontation with the tag champs all the way back at Full Gear, and here they are, competing for the belts on pay-per-view. LAX had been undefeated since debuting back at All Out. Can Phoenix and Penta stop their 6-month path of carnage? Santana has, this is the finish actually. Santana has Penta in a powerbomb position as Ortiz is climbing the ropes. Street sweeper time. Nope. Penta with a Frankensteiner into a Mexican destroyer from Phoenix. Ortiz dives off the top right into a double super kick from the Bros. Luchas hit their stomp driver combo on Ortiz to retain the titles. Santana and Ortiz have finally been defeated as Phoenix and Penta celebrate yet another successful title defense with their fans. Which, to be honest with you, if they did give Lucha Brothers the tag belts before Hangman and Omega and all that stuff, like, that would have been cool. And plus, it's like a good tag team wrestling on a good show so far. Speaking of which, Emi Sakura with Riho versus Nyla Rose for the AEW Women's Championship. Speaking of dominance, the native Queen Kong is arguably the most dominant competitor in all of AEW, regardless of gender. God, I can't speak tonight. Sakura, on the other hand, made her return and began racking up wins yet again. Sakura says she's sick and tired of Nyla's reign of terror, especially considering what she did to her countrywoman back at Full Gear, defeating both Shida and her trainee Riho simultaneously. This is Emi's shot. Can the veteran slay the beast with her student in her corner? And this is the finish. Emi begins building momentum, stunning Nyla with strikes. Emi heads up top, looking for a meteor. Nyla catches the veteran mid-air and drops her down quickly with a native bomb, but Nyla is not done there. She powerbombs Sakura 2 more times, every powerbomb move more devastating than the other. Nyla sets up for a 4th native bomb as Sakura is barely breathing. Brio, tears in her eyes, throws in the towel, causing Aubrey Edwards to stop the match. The doctors rush the ring, putting Emi Sakura on a stretcher as Nyla as Nyla leaves, still the champion and with a sickening smile on her face. Nyla is laughing, or Nyla is smiling, Rio is crying, Sakura is out cold, and this story just got personal quick. That would have been crazy. I mean, Nyla and Chris Statlander, those are two, like, no pun intended, but they're like two big girls and all that stuff. Like, no pun intended there. And plus they could kind of move. Like, they were like, hitting each other like kind of hard as like hell. I mean, both their characters kind of develop like later on as like characters and all that stuff. Like Chris, most definitely. Um, but it's neither here nor there. And I know, like, as time goes on, like with Chris Statlander, the I guess the character of Chris Statlander kind of like develops more of an edge, more of a character, I guess. I mean, with Nyla too, like, she kind of like does her own thing and she just kills people. Okay, going on to match number 5 here. This is SCU versus Daniels and Kazarian versus the Young Bucks. If SCU lose, they must disband. That's actually what happened in real life. So Daniels is going through a midlife crisis, and Bucks are losing a lot. Now living up to their potential and hype, so both teams acknowledge their friendship and bond, with Daniels raising the stakes that if him and Kaz lose, they are done as a team. Tough position for the Bucks, potentially having to retire their good friends, but will they do it? Bucks set up a Meltzer driver on Daniels, who rakes Matt's eyes to get out of the hold. Interesting choice of offense there. Daniels tossed Matt out of the ring before being greeted by a crossbody from Nick. Nick takes out Kaz on the apron with a super kick, but as he turns around, Angel's Wings awaits. 1, 2, 3, SCU have done it. SCU remain as a team. Post-match, all 4 guys shake hands and hugs, but Daniels leaves in a hurry, celebrating to an uncomfortable point. Well, he did win. Let him have his moment, I guess. Yeah, I mean, like, that would have been good on pay-per-view too. It's like 2 like good tag team matches. Like, that would have been crazy. And plus, like, I mean, like, kind of like they did in real life. Like, Bucks defeat SCU and Daniels and Kazarian to go do their own thing, and like Daniels is like a producer, like kind of like an EVP for AEW right now. And Kaz, like, he's doing his thing at the Impact right now. He's like full blown heel, which is kind of cool to see, I guess. But this is the fantasy booking. This is the fantasy booking, folks. Okay, this would have been way better than the actual show we got. So, match number 6. This is Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega for the Dynamite Diamond ring. After Pac, I should say, vacated his Diamond Diamond ring due to 10 successful consecutive defenses, a new holder had to be crowned. Omega and Hangman have been raising up the ranks, especially Omega, who is on a path of redemption after both defeating Chris Jericho at Full Gear and Shawn Spears on Dynamite. These 2 men are friends, but business is business. Only one will leave with the precious prize: cowboy shit or cleaner shit. Let's find out. So the finish of the match is Hangman and Kenny have a fist exchange that ends with both guys knocking each other out silly with a double forearm shot. As both guys start to get back up, the lights go out. When the lights come back on, the entire Dark Order is around the ring. Uno, Stu, Silver, and Reynolds, accompanied by their 24 creepers, swarm the ring and destroy both Kenny and Page. The Order takes turns hitting finishers on the babyfaces, ending with a fatality on Page. Dark Order do their pose as they just obliterate 2 top guys. Join them indeed. So it ends in kind of like a double draw, like a double DQ. But then it's like, I would love to see that, and plus it would have been a year before we got the the blow off between like Hangman and Omega a year later for the world title. Speaking of the world title, we have Pac versus Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. Well, after months defeating guys and busting them open, paid off for the bastard. Pac really relinquished the Dynamite ring to get a pay-per-view title shot against Moxley, and Pac decided to punctuate his statement by laying the champ out after the main event of Full Gear. In the build-up, Pac busts Mox open one more time, christening himself as the Blood Collector. Will the Collector collect the big one here, or is Mox too stubborn for Pac? Well, he's always bleeding and shit, so whatever. Finish of the match is Moxley finally returns the favor by busting Pac open after a series of cornered rights. The war continues as Pac flies off the top with a shooting star. Mox catches them mid-air, dropping the bastard with the paradigm shift. Mox keeps the grip on and delivers a brutal Death Rider for the three. Mox survives, no blood collected on this night for Pac. So, and I think that would have been kind of cool too. No Chris Jericho, no Jake Hager or anything. But this is where it's like kind of gets interesting a little bit. So this is it's labeled as a Death Den match, but it's kind of a War Games match, I should say. So the biggest feud that they have on this Reddit post is Inner Circle versus the Nightmare Family. And in this Inner Circle incarnation is in Jericho and Helico, Sammy Guevara, Jake Hager, and Dr. Death Baker. And then the Nightmare Family is Cody, Brandon Rhodes, MJF, Shawn Spears, Wardlow. In a Death Den match. This is the big one. It's time for War Games. Except we can't call it that. So this person choose Death Den. Most creative thing I could come up with at the time. Certainly much better than the cheesy blood and guts match deal, in my opinion. I kind of like it. Anyway, this feud got personal quick. Jericho proposes a merger to Cody and Inner Circle Nightmare Family super faction that Cody refused. Jericho gets infatuated and assaults Arn with the rest of the circle, keeping him out of the match. The family, in response, destroys Jack Evans' leg, driving Chris Jericho over the edge as one of his boys got taken out. Brandy and Britt are in the match themselves, keeping Brandy limited, of course, as she kind of sucks. I mean, she does kind of suck. Cody proposes a match his dad competed in, a stipulation worthy of this animosity. Death Den, baby. The question is, which team will win? Which team will? The question is which team will win. The question is which team will survive. And then the finish of this: Chris Jericho and Cody fight on top of the cage with Cody elbowing El Champion off. No hesitation in his eyes. Cody flies off the top of the damn cage with a moonsault. Jericho pushes Angelico into the press so that Jericho could save his ass. Cody obliterates Angelico with a moonsault and covers him for the win. The family stands tall, barely, but they have done it. This would have been a way better Revolution, to be honest with you, than we got like in real life. It's just it's just sad, like the Jake Hager and Dustin Rhodes match kind of sucked. Darby Allin and Sammy was kind of a good sprint. The Omega Page and Bucks match was like that was a good thing of like psychology and chemistry between both teams. Nyla and Chris, kind of take it or leave it. It feels like a TV title match. MJF and Cody. That one had like a lot of like personal animosity behind it because Cody had brought in MJF with open arms and stuff, and then MJF kind of turned his back on Cody and gave him like 10 lashings and shit, and it's like I kind of remember that storyline. It was not really good. Pac and Orange Cassidy was a good fun match too. Like those two were really good together. And then like Mox defeats Jericho and all that stuff. it's like, it's not a bad show. It's just like, I would prefer the rebooking of this pay per view that this person did on Reddit 4 years ago over the actual show that we got. Like, because there's like a Face Revolution ladder match. There's like two great tag team matches, like Emi Sakura versus Nyla Rose, which would have been really good. Paige and Omega, Pac and Moxley, the Death Den match, War Games, whatever. Like, I would prefer that over the main, like, the actual show that we got in like 4 or 5 years ago. Um, but with that being said, it wasn't. It's like, you have to have the good with the bad. And plus, like, after that show, it was like, the world shut down, and then we had, COVID restrictions, and we had COVID, like a lot of COVID stuff everywhere. We couldn't go out to see our loved ones. We couldn't go do what we wanted to do. We had to wait like a whole year, a year plus, to kind of like get our shit together again. Which, I mean, kind of sucks, but hey, here we are, many years later. But yeah, this was kind of like a good, like, little, I guess, like, look in the past, I should say. I kind of wanted to include the rebooking of this show because I kind of thought it would have been cool to, like, see, like, what had changed and all that stuff. Some of it did change, like, a lot of it did change. But it would have been a way better show than we got in real life, kind of. I mean, they could have kept the um uh Omega Hangman and Bucks match. That I think that would have been fine. Um, but yeah, I mean, I digress. So, if you made it to the very end of this episode, we do greatly appreciate it. Please make sure to follow us all on all social medias in the link tree in the description below, which will take you to our Instagram page, Twitter page, Facebook page, my gaming YouTube page. There is probably a GoFundMe in that link tree at some point too. And what else? And my song of the night, it is gonna be a Green Day song, and it is Basket Case. I probably did that already. Well, let me just rephrase it then. It is going to be a new band called Suco. It is Sueco, and it is called Paralyzed. That song in that video, it's actually kind of interesting, and I actually want to kind of like show it to the world, I should say. But yeah, that is going to be my song of the night, and I will see you guys next week for another episode of the Reckless Paradox podcast. Stay safe, everyone. Peace.